Well, greetings and salutations, my most excellent friends. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Now, as you know, I have been having a lot of fun with podcasting. Got the Asian News Weekly podcast, was on Busan Kevin's podcast. And one of the things I've actually really enjoyed, that really pretty much just really stumbled across just recently, have been a lot of spoken word podcasts, specifically This American Life, The Moth, Risk, and it's one of the things I really have enjoyed while I go running. So this week, 14 kilometers. Anyway, so what these podcasts are real stories. So I thought I would do something a little bit different today and share with you a real story from my youth about the first time, and really, I think the only time I've ever been truly scared. But I'm going to do that in true podcast fashion, so no video, only audio. So today, I'm going to tell you a story. A story about the first time. And as I look back over my life, I really want to say the only time I have truly been scared. Now, I am 43 years old, and truth be told, I have been afraid numerous times. But I think I have only been scared one time. And I differentiate between being afraid and being scared. So let's talk about being afraid so we can put things into context. When I was a young kid, we had a community pool, and I remember climbing up the ladder to the high dive board, walking out to the ledge, and looking down 10 feet into the swimming pool, and being afraid. I remember thinking to myself, how in the hell did I get here? And what the hell am I going to do to get down? Well, as you would expect, I jumped. And oddly enough, it was actually the same series of thoughts I had several years later when I found myself in the doorframe in an aircraft 14,000 feet in the air with a jump master strapped onto my back. I looked outside the plane and thought to myself, what the hell am I doing here? How am I going to get down? And of course, we jumped. But I was never scared. I was afraid, but I wasn't scared. So we have to turn back the hands of time, and let's look at, a very interesting event in my life. Now, it was the spring of 1990, and I was in college. It was my freshman year in college, and I very vividly remember my roommate, Chris. Chris and I were very different, but we shared the same space for an entire year. We had a roughly 10 by 16 foot dorm room, and to make the most out of our space, we had bunk beds. I was on top, and Chris was on the bottom. And one night, for some strange reason, I had a hard time falling asleep. I don't know what it was, but something was keeping me up. And no matter what I tried to do, counting sheep or just trying to rest in peaceful meditation, I could never fall asleep. Now, I don't know why, but I opted to turn on my side and look into the heart of our room. Our beds were pushed up against the wall, as I said, to make the most out of our space. And what I saw really puzzled me. You see, coming out from beneath Chris's bed was this green light, almost as if there was a nightlight beneath his bed, shining out into the room. And I knew that couldn't be possible because we didn't have an outlet there. So very timidly, I asked Chris, Chris, are you up? And there was maybe a half second before he responded. And he said, yes. And I was really nervous about what to say next. But I finally got up the courage and I asked him, Chris, do you see the light? And Chris responded, yes. What are you doing? And it was at that moment I realized that neither one of us had turned on the light beneath the bed. More importantly, we didn't know what that light was. So I told Chris, it's not me. And Chris responded, if it's not you, who is it? And that's when it happened. All of a sudden, very slowly, very deliberately, I saw a hand reach out from beneath Chris's bed. But it wasn't a hand like that's attached to you or I. It was semi-translucent. It glowed an eerie green. And what followed the hand was an arm, a torso, and finally a body. It was the body of a hunched-over figure that slowly pulled himself up to his feet and started walking across the room. It continued to take a few steps, the figure's back still to us, and I just remember lying there in bed, my mouth hanging wide open. And as this figure approached the far wall of our room, it paused, slowly turned around to us, and looked at Chris and I squarely in the eyes. It brought its left index finger to its lips and shh. It then turned around and walked into the wall. And as soon as it passed into the wall, the green light disappeared. Now I'm telling you all of this because that didn't scare me. What really scared me was several years earlier. I had just returned from the movies with my friends. We had seen the motion picture Hangar 18 about UFO abductions and aliens and NASA and whatnot. And I was walking down the street. It was not terribly late, maybe 10 o'clock. But for a young man who's still in second grade, it was pretty late. There was no one else out on the street. And I heard something. I heard a loud pop. And that's when I became scared. Nothing in my life has ever terrified me more than the sound at that moment. When I heard that pop, I took off running. And I'm not talking just a quick sprint. I'm talking about running as fast as I could. And in Texas at the time, we had cement driveways, about 10-15 feet wide. I was running so fast. And you know how they say that when you're scared, when you're terrified, adrenaline pumps through your body and you can achieve amazing feats of strength and agility. Well, I can attest to that fact because when I came up to a driveway, I cleared it in a single bound. I will never, ever forget that moment, and that's when I was scared. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed that story. I tell you what I'll do. I'll put the MP3 version of that story in the description box over on ChiRanger.com. That way, if you want to, you can download that story as well. Anyway, before I go today, tell me about the first time you were scared. What really scared you? I'd love to hear from you. And until tomorrow, Thanks for watching. Stay true to yourself, and as always, be awesome.